Hello everybody, welcome to today's video. My name is Brenda and this is Hazel, the knitter behind Petrichor.Knitwear. I should start with telling you what I'm wearing at the moment. It is my beloved cloud sweater. The pattern is by PetiteKnit and I worked this in Isaga Eco Soft. The color is E0 and I held that together with the Silkair Melange by Lana Grossa, which I believe is unfortunately discontinued, but I luckily managed to get my hands on some. I really wanted to combine this with a mohair because I wasn't really happy with the color itself. I got this because I was convinced that I needed a white sweater in my wardrobe, to then find out that I am absolutely not the person to wear white because it just doesn't suit me. It makes me look dead, and I paired it with a grayish mohair. Now the special thing about this yarn combination is that even though I combined a gray mohair with it, it didn't create a super marled look, which I definitely didn't want it to create. It created more of a darker fluff on the on the fabric, if that makes any sense. The thing about the Silkair Melange is that it had a really light, like almost white silk thread, and then it had really dark gray, like dark gray hairs on top of that. And so the thread itself was white, and that's why it is not marled. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. And right now I'm definitely a lot happier with this color on me, and I'm happy I combined those two and didn't make it in full white because I just know I wouldn't have worn it as much as I have in the past weeks. And yes, I'm really happy with it. This Isaga yarn is 56% alpaca and 44% cotton, which makes it a pretty nice sweater to wear around the springtime, when the temperatures kind of go up a little bit but not too much. And so the sweater is still a pretty thick fabric, but it doesn't keep you super warm because there's just so much cotton in there. So I hope that made sense. Today's video is another knitting episode. Finally, it's only taken me 10 months to film a second one. Anyway, for the sake of today's video, I went back and rewatched the first knitting podcast, which that shit was painful to watch, okay? Let me just tell you that. It physically hurt me to watch that, okay? It was so bad. Anyway, I figured I should give you some updates on the whips I've been talking about in the last video, so that's what I'm doing. Now, I'm not gonna get too much into detail here. We're just gonna rush through it, and yeah, I just want to start talking about the new things that I have on my needles and I have recently finished. So there was a sweater with a leaf pattern on the back. That one I have finished, and I have worn it like 100 times ever since I made it, and I just think it's a really nice fabric. I think it was worked on 5.5mm needles, and that needle size with this yarn just created a really nice airy fabric that I really enjoy wearing around the house or outside, you know, but I have been wearing it a lot inside. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of that yarn combination. I think I mentioned in that video that I have made 3 sweaters out of that yarn, and it's one of my all-time favorites, so there's that. Another project I had on my needles was the Luna tee that I don't have with me right now. I have no idea where it is, but I will make sure to find it before the summer starts because I love that t-shirt. It's one of my all-time favorite designs, and I definitely, or I don't want to say definitely, but I think I will re-knit it for this summer. So don't mark my words for that, but I will make a separate video all about knitting, all about summer knitting patterns, so stay tuned for that. Yes, I have been wearing the shit out of that t-shirt. I just wish I had made it a little bit longer, but that's the only thing I would change about it. Other than that, I absolutely loved it, and I've been wearing it a lot. A project I had also mentioned in the video was a summer top that looks like this right now. Yes, I unraveled it completely. It turned out too small, and I'm not gonna wear something that doesn't fit me right, so yes, but I do definitely want to recast this on, make myself a cute summer top with it. Something I had also mentioned in the video was a future project, which was the No Frills Sweater by PetiteKnit. That one is also completely finished by now, and this is what it looks like. It's a really nice sweater, and I'm really happy with the yarn, with the design, with everything about it. It's a very nice basic sweater to have, I think, and there's not much more to say about it. The pattern is by PetiteKnit, and the yarn I used again is Mejita by Malabrigo. I held that together with a kid silk mohair from Laying Yarns, and I think that was called Lace. Now, a lot of things have happened since I made that video. I have dropped my little Cozy Stripes collection. I don't still have all of the items here, but I'm gonna show you two that I have right here beside me. Now, this sweater is a sweater that no one wanted to buy, and therefore I felt really bad for it just sitting in my drawer and not being worn, basically. And I decided to do something with it. I decided to give it a new purpose. I brushed it out with a mohair brush, and let me tell you, I have a long, detailed Instagram post on my feed dedicated to this sweater only, because brushing it out was a journey itself, and you can just go ahead and read that if you're interested in brushing out mohair. In this case, it wasn't even a mohair blend, it is an alpaca. This is an alpaca and silk blend, and that's why it didn't turn out as good as I would have hoped it would. But yeah, I will link it down below, and you can go ahead and read that if you're interested. The other sweater I can show you from that collection is this little number here. This one is definitely more oversized, or just a bigger size in general. I've been wearing it myself. I have taken it off of Etsy because, again, no one wanted to buy it, which is completely fine. And therefore I figured I would get some use out of it and wear it myself. And I really enjoy wearing it. It's a really light and fluffy and airy sweater, and it's just been really nice, especially now during springtime when it's not as cold anymore. But yeah, those were all of the projects, or at least some of them, from the last knitting podcast. Now let's move on to some newer items. I will show you first my recently finished projects that I'm really excited about. The first sweater I will be talking about is an absolute all-time favorite of mine, which I think I say that about every single piece I make. But this one, let me just show you. It's definitely one of the most beautiful things I've ever made. This one was a labor of love, 100%. I enjoyed every little second of the process of making this, and I don't know, she's my baby, okay? There's not much else to say. Some quick details about this sweater. This is the Chestnut sweater by PetiteKnit. I think I knitted the smallest size, and the yarn I used was Chaos yarn, organic soft merino, in the color, will insert it on the screen, I don't remember anymore. And I held that together with lace from Laying Yarns, which is a mohair and silk blend, and I worked this on 4mm needles. Now, in terms of yarn quantity, I made a little mistake because I purchased this yarn when we visited Berlin, and I got only 5 balls of yarn for this sweater, and I was thinking it should be enough because one ball of yarn has 250 meters. and it still wasn't enough. I ran out of yarn at the cuff and I had to improvise. So I ended up working both cuffs in only mohair, and I held the yarn double to create a more dense fabric instead of just holding it single, which you do when you work the entire sweater. You hold a strand of mohair and a strand of the merino yarn together, and yeah, I don't really think you can notice a huge difference. At least it doesn't bother me when wearing it, and I don't think it's super noticeable. Yes, if you pay closer attention, you will definitely notice it, but it doesn't really bother me, and I don't think anyone will get this close to my cuffs. So there's that. The next project is something I have talked a lot about in my last video, but that won't stop me from talking even more about it right now. So please ignore the not yet woven in ends. I have woven in the majority of them, but let me just tell you, it is a lot of weaving in ends with this pattern. That still didn't stop me from making it, and it shouldn't stop you. This little piece is giving me so much joy just by looking at it, and I cannot wait to wear this when I blocked it and woven in all the ends, because that has to happen sometime soon. The pattern is called Cardi du coeur, and it's by Les Filles du Coeur, and that was a really horrible French pronunciation, but just ignore that. This cardigan is worked in 4 strands of mohair, and no, you don't have to buy 4 single skeins or balls of mohair for each stripe. You can just wind 1 single ball into 4 strands. By now we'll follow a really bad description of how I did this, but I basically took the beginning of the yarn from the outside and from the inside and wound it and did wind it up like that first, and then you do the exact same thing again. You have your little cake with a double-stranded mohair, and you take the yarn from the outside and from the inside and wind it again, so you have a 4-stranded little ball of mohair. It used up 10 balls of mohair. I'm saying the word mohair so much. It used up about 10 balls of yarn. I changed a couple of things with this pattern just to make it fit me a little bit better. So the pattern calls for 9mm needles, which I just didn't like. I did cast it on 9mm, and I didn't like the way the stitches looked. I think they were just too loose, too holy for me, and I decided to go down a needle size and basically knit the entire thing on 8mm needles, and therefore I made the larger size. There's 2 sizes that this pattern comes in, and I made the larger size, but I went down a needle size, and I followed the centimeter descriptions for, I believe, the smaller size. I don't know if this is making any sense, but stick with me. And so because I did go down a needle size, I ended up using more yarn than the pattern called for. So I had to get 2 extra balls of yarn because I also didn't want the sleeves to be too short on me, and yeah, I had to get 2 extra balls. I still have some yarn left, and I'm not mad about it. I know I will use that yarn in a future project, so it's all fine. But if you don't want to have to buy extra yarn, you should definitely stick to the pattern, because then I think it will be enough to get only 10 balls of yarn, which is still a lot of money. Okay, it's still a lot. I know mohair can be expensive, but there's cheaper alternatives out there that are also really good. I used I didn't even mention, so I did use a mix of 3 different yarn brands. I used some Kid Silk Haze by Rowan Yarns. I also used some Silk Hair by Lana Grossa, and I also used some Kid Seta by Prolana, and yeah, it was all completely worth it. even though I still have to weave in some ends. I think, I'm not gonna lie, but I think it was like 100 ends to weave in, which is insane. But if I did it, you can do it too. I also mentioned that in the last video, but I'm just gonna say it again. I'm planning on making a video with either my top 5 or top 10 favorite knits of all time and how to style them. And don't get me wrong, I'm by no means a fashion guru, but I really like to think about fashion and different outfit combinations, and I'm just trying to get more into that topic. So I think it will be a very exciting video, and I cannot wait to film that. But I'm still working on a project that I just realized I even forgot to bring with me. I'll get that in a second. But yeah, I'm still working on that project, and then I think I will start filming the video, because I definitely want to include that in it. And yeah, right, we have one more finished object to talk about, which is a small accessory. If you follow me on Instagram, you have probably, or no, that's actually not true. If you follow me, you probably have not seen it, because the algorithm for some reason hates me. Anyway, I will have this scarf as a free pattern on my Instagram. It's really simple to make, and I think it's a really nice piece, especially for the springtime now. I used 3 different types of yarn for this scarf, not for any particular reason, except for that I really liked the colors I had at home, and I didn't want to go out and purchase new yarn when I still had some at home, and I think they worked out perfectly fine in combination together. And yeah, I just really liked these colors, and I wanted to use them together, but I didn't have these colors in the exact same yarn at home. Hope that makes sense. Anyways, I used some drops brushed alpaca silk, which is this color. I used some Cetasuri from Lana Grossa, which is this color and the green. And I also used some leftover yarn. And I also used some leftover yarn from the from that stripy sweater I had shown you earlier, which was Cetasuri Big. So Cetasuri Big has basically half the yardage of the Cetasuri, and it's therefore double as thick as the regular one, and that's why I was able to combine them very well together. I used the Cetasuri Big and the drops yarn single-stranded, and the Cetasuri I held double-stranded. Okay, that was that was something. It's approximately 1 meter and 56 centimeters long, I believe, and it was a lot shorter, but I soaked it in water and stretched it to the gods, because I wanted it to have a really nice length and not be too short, because I feel like if scarves are too short, they just tend to look really awkward, at least on me. And yeah, it's still kind of damp, so I'm gonna put it back where it was. Right, those were all the finished objects I wanted to talk about, and we still have some whips I want to show you, and I believe 2 future projects I'd like to talk about. Whip number 1. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, you may or may not have seen this already. I currently have a pattern in testing, which is the Mr. Goostavo Sweater, and I'm also working on a commission for this exact sweater, and this is what it looks like so far. It's a pretty simple top-down raglan construction, but something that I really like about this is the fact that it doesn't have ribbing, and so it requires the absolute minimum amount of purling, which is something I am not the biggest fan of. So you basically only purl when working the German short rows, which is only like a tiny part of the pattern. And yeah, yes, for the neckline and the cuffs and also the hem on the body, you basically work a folded hem, and it's all worked in the round, so you only knit. Isn't that amazing? And I still think it looks really nice. For the top part to not stretch out, which I don't know if that will happen or not, but I will put an elastic in here just to prevent that from happening. you can, wow, I just said it, you can put an elastic into the folded hem at the neckline. Where was I going with that sentence? But I think it does fit pretty nicely around the neckline even without an elastic, at least right now. One thing I have to mention about this project still is I'm working on a full tutorial for this YouTube channel on the Mr. Goostavo sweater, which yeah, it's still in the works, but it will be on this channel by the time the pattern is published, which will be around May, I believe, which is kind of a weird time to publish a pattern for a sweater, but I don't want to rush my test knitters, and yeah. Alright, we've got 2 more whips to talk about. One of them I had kind of forgotten about, which, Simone, Vicky, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry. This was actually a mini knit along with 2 of my friends, and I just have not been working on this recently. It's the Amy Slipover by Sandnes Garn. Let me show you. I'm already at the ribbing, so at least there's that. But yeah, I don't know when this will be done. I will finish it sometime, but I just don't know when that will be. This is worked in Alpaca Classic by Rowan Yarns, and again, the pattern is called Amy Slipover by Sandnes Garn, and it's a really nice pattern and a really nice item to own, definitely. It's just on really tiny needles, and I just do not have the patience for that right now, but I will finish it sometime. Okay, next project. Let's just move on from that quickly. The next one is the sweater I was talking about earlier that I'd like to include in the video I'm planning on making, my top 10 knits and how I style them video, and it is the sweater number 28 by MyfavouritethingsKnitwear. This is what it looks like. It's in this really lovely shade of blue, and I am working this in Patagonia by Juniper Moon Farm, which is a really nice non-superwash merino wool that I really enjoy working with. I am working this single-stranded, even though the pattern calls for 2 strands of yarn, but I just didn't feel like doing that. I don't know, I think it still looks nice without any mohair, and I just don't think it's always necessary to put mohair in every single sweater. So yes. By the way, this is only 1 skein of Patagonia, and I still have some yarn left. I have 2 more skeins here, and I think 3 of them will be enough. These are 100-gram skeins, and the yardage is, I don't remember, but I will put it here. And yes, it's a really nice yarn to work with, at least in my opinion. I do like yarn that is a little bit more rustic. I really don't mind that, and it will get softer with washing it. When I say rustic, it's not really rustic or harsh. It's or like hard. It's still a pretty soft yarn. It's just not that super wash kind of soft, if you know what I mean. And what else can I say? Yes, it is worked on 4mm needles, and let me just tell you, I think those armholes look suspiciously small. I don't know if you can see that. I'm really bad at showing this, but anyway, I don't know what to say about it. I'm just gonna work it, and we'll see. Maybe I'll have to give it a good stretch when blocking it, but I don't know. They just look kind of small to me, but maybe it's just maybe I'm wrong. Also, to mention really quick, I did cast on this sweater in a different yarn quality, which was a merino and alpaca blend held together with a kid silk mohair. And if you've ever worked with alpaca yarn, you know that it can get really heavy, and drapey, and that was just something the pattern especially told you not to use. So I had worked about like 10-15 centimeters of that yarn combination, and I realized I wasn't really happy with it, so I put it aside. And then I talked to my friends, and they told me to definitely unravel it if I'm not happy with how it's turning out. And the last whip of the day I want to talk about is the Camisole No. 9 by MyfavouritethingsKnitwear. I'm really happy with the way this yarn is working up and with the pattern itself. I think this will be a very nice piece for the summer or springtime, summer, even fall time to wear. It's a plain stockinette top, like tank top, with some details around the necklines and the armholes. And yeah, I think it's a really classy piece, and I'm really looking forward to wearing it. The yarn I'm using is Sottile by Lana Grossa. I have talked about this in my Organize My Yarn Stash With Me video, and therefore I don't want to talk about this project too much again. I'm also planning on making my favorite summer knitting patterns video, so again, I don't want to talk too much about this right now. But yeah, I'm really happy with the stitch definition. I'm really happy with the yarn itself. In general, if you know me, you know that I don't like working with cotton yarn, but this cotton yarn has a little bit of mohair wool mixed into it, so I don't know, it just kind of changes the entire texture of the yarn, and I really enjoy working with it. This is my first time working with this yarn, so I have no idea how it's gonna wear, if it's gonna pill or not, if it's gonna stretch. We're gonna see. I'll keep you updated on that, but so far I'm really happy with it. Now, last category of the day is future projects, and I have only 2 future projects that I really want to cast on right now. One of them is the Kumulus blouse. Now, I do already own a Kumulus blouse, but I'm just not happy with the way it turned out. It is not a color that suits me very well. It's in beige, and I just figured I need more intense colors to not make me look like I'm dead, and therefore I decided to go with this really nice deep dark pink or fuchsia or whatever you want to call this. It's Rowan Kid Silk Haze in the color 606. I've worked with Rowan mohair before in the Cardi du coeur, and I can say it's a really nice quality yarn, and I'm looking forward to working it up. And I don't think I have to say a lot about the Kumulus blouse. I think it's PetiteKnit's most known pattern out there, and yeah, it's a pretty classy, simple stockinette v-neck blouse with I-cord details around the edges. I think it makes it a timeless piece, and I'm really looking forward to being able to wear that in the fall. The last project I'd like to talk about is, again, I mentioned that already in my Yarn Stash Treasures video, so if you watched that, sorry for repeating myself again, but yeah, if you're part of the Instagram knitting community or YouTube knitting community, you may or may not have seen the Toteme black and white striped sweater kind of going viral within that community. I just feel like it's pretty popular among knitters in general, and I've seen some people trying to, or like not trying to, but recreating that sweater, and that's exactly what I'm planning on doing. It's I'll insert a picture here. It's again by Toteme. It's a pretty, like, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's a black and white striped sweater, but I just really like the fit and the distribution of the stripes and the turtleneck about the sweater, and yeah, I just thought I would make one for myself. I'm planning on using this yarn. It's called Rimu Decay by Zialana. Again, I've already talked about this, so I'm not gonna get too much into detail here, but this is the shade R35 and this is the shade R12. And I think they will make a great sweater. So yeah. I'm gonna try to make my own kind of pattern, or like just make the sweater to fit me best, and make it as close to the original as I can. So that will be interesting, and I'm thinking about filming the entire process and making a YouTube video out of it. So I don't know, stay tuned. Maybe that will happen, maybe it won't, maybe I will fail miserably, we'll see. But yeah, that was all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was interesting to watch, and if you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe to this channel if you like the content I'm making. I'm really having a lot of fun making these videos, and I'm looking forward to making even more in the future. So again, thank you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!